Hello everyone, Jules here. Today I'd like to show a tarot deck that is really interesting and quite unique. That is the Alchemystic Woodcut Tarot by D.W.Prudence. And here is the box, and it was published last year by Schiffer. And it says here, Secret Wisdom of the Ages. This is really quite unique, this deck. The reason why it is particularly unique is because it is probably the only tarot deck around that is based on Christian Cabala. Most of the Cabala decks, tarot decks that are around, are based on Hermetic Cabala of the Golden Dawn. So I particularly wanted to get this deck because I am slowly becoming a bit more interested in Christian Cabala and Christian Hermeticism, because I haven't looked into that area of esoteric wisdom yet, and I've started to look into that. And this is really the only deck around that is about Christian Cabala and is based on that. So that is why I particularly wanted this deck. The artwork is quite unique as well. It is the artwork that is based on woodcut drawings, historical woodcut drawings that cover the period from 1500 to 1900, and most of the woodcut drawings are from the Renaissance period, which is when Christian Cabala was created and was worked with by ceremonial magicians and mystics. And Christian Cabala is really a forerunner. It came before Hermetic Cabala. So it's really interesting to find out this background of the later Cabala and Tarot that we know of today, that came from the later period of the late 1800s, from the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. So that's very interesting. And the period before Christian Cabala was Jewish Cabala. So that is why there are three main different types of Cabala, and they get confused quite a bit. So here is the box, and this is the Magician card on here. So you can tell by this picture that this is taken from the Elizabethan period. And this deck was created by D.W.Prudence, and that is his pseudonym. D.W.Prudence stands for Dwell with Prudence. Here is the book that comes with it. And this book is quite well written. There is a great historical background in here about Cabala and Hermeticism, how it relates to Cabala. And most of this historical background information is mostly correct. I really like that, because there are so many tarot books that have been written that it is quite obvious that the author has not done enough research, or very little, and has possibly borrowed some of the misinformation that is so freely around. So I like the way this book has been written. there is a chart in here about each of the cards and how they relate to the Cabala Tree of Life, but you need to keep in mind that this is based on the French esoteric system of Eliphas Levi. So the Hebrew letters will not be the same correspondences as the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. So keep that in mind. This deck is quite different in that way. And on the back of the book, it actually shows the back of the cards, which is actually showing the Cabala here, the Cabala Tree of Life, and there is an hourglass picture in the middle on the middle pillar. So that is showing what the back of the cards look like. And for each of the cards there is a black and white picture, and it is a good description of the image itself and where each of the images was taken from. So which woodcut drawing it was taken from, and the date, the year as well. So that's really interesting from a historical perspective. There is a timeline here, a timeline diagram roughly showing the branching off of the different types of esoteric wisdom. So most of that is correct too, and it takes it all the way up basically to present day. And you know, there is information on the Cabala as you would expect. I don't agree with all the views in this book. I don't agree with his attribution of the court cards for Cabala on the Tree of Life. They are a bit unusual, especially what he does with how he attributes the King and the Queen court cards on the Cabala Tree of Life. I haven't seen that before, and I don't agree with that. I am very much alongside and agree with the Golden Dawn system. I've been working with it for many, many years, and it works and makes sense. But it's interesting to get this, if you're interested, to compare, to do a comparison. So here is a chart showing each of the major arcana cards and the Hebrew letter, and it also has its own set of meanings for each of the cards too. It really is quite unique. But don't forget, this is going to be different because this is Christian Cabala. Don't expect this to be like any other tarot and Cabala system that you've seen before. This is not Hermetic Cabala, so it's really different. So this is not good for someone who's learning Cabala, because this is different to almost anything else that's out there on tarot and Cabala books. So it's really for people who have a fairly good foundational to intermediate knowledge of Hermetic Cabala to start with, but it's also good to compare if you want to, and if you're interested in the French system. And then there are some keywords for each of the minor arcana cards. And with this deck as well, he has renamed the suits, and it's not very straightforward. He doesn't specifically say which elements are for which suit. So I am going to show these cards, and I'm going to say how I see the elements for each of these suits. And there's nothing wrong with anyone doing that if they get the deck. You could do that yourself according to how you think the elements fit for each of the suits. And there's some great information on Rosicrucianism here too, and how that relates to Christian Cabala. So I think that is really worthwhile. When I was talking about some of the views in here, the only thing that I noticed is that there is a little bit of anti-Catholic view in here, just slight. D.W.Prudence sees himself as a non-denominational Christian. That is because the Rosicrucian movement, which is tied in with Christian Cabala in a lot of ways, was a Protestant movement mainly. There were Catholics who did work with Christian Cabala and Rosicrucianism behind the scenes, but some of the ideas were based on Protestantism. So if you can overlook that a little bit, that's good, if you wish. The other thing I need to say before I show the cards as well is that these are quite bright, these colours, and to me they feel like, they look like stained glass windows. So I'll show you the cards in a moment. I was just thinking that there was something else in here about the views that are in here too. I don't think it's probably worth mentioning. Oh yes, something I do need to mention. Because this is Christian Cabala, and sometimes he sort of refers to Jewish ideas in here very, very occasionally or briefly. It's called Christian Cabala because it is related to New Testament and Christian scripture. So for the description of each of the cards, for basically all of them, there is a quotation from somewhere in the Bible. Now this is something that put me off initially before I started getting interested in Christian Cabala, and I thought, oh no, I don't think I want that. I don't want references to biblical quotations. But in the context of this deck, if you are wanting to look into Christian Cabala, that is okay. So it's in context with Christian Cabala. So I just thought I'd let people know that, because if you get this set and get this book and you don't expect biblical quotations for the cards, you may not want that. So if that would mean, if you're interested in Cabala, you would be better to get a deck and book that is about Hermetic Cabala. Okay, having said all that, let's look at the cards. So here's the back of the cards. This cardstock is quite good. It's the usual Schiffer cardstock, which is a little bit glossy, and the cards are probably a little bit larger than normal. And the cards do have borders, but I am going to use this deck as a study deck. You could read with this deck, but you would really need to know the Cabala system to get the most out of it. Otherwise, you can refer to the book, that's fine, but this system has its own system. The only way it can compare to another system is that it's like the Rider-Waite system, the Waite system, in the way that there are scenic pips, but this is not a Thoth deck. A Thoth deck is purely to do with Hermetic Cabala, so this is not a Thoth deck. So keep that in mind, don't expect a Thoth deck. This is Christian Cabala. Okay, let's get started. Here are some of the major arcana cards. This is the High Priestess. I'm trying not to show the gloss on here. So here is the High Priestess. Hope you can see that. Trying not to show too much gloss. These are numbered with Roman numerals. High Priestess, but these are labelled as well. High Priest, sorry. The High Priest, which is usually the Hierophant. And I think all of the major arcana cards are like gold and yellow with green background. But these cards look a lot better in person. The cards are really fascinating and mesmerizing. They remind me of stained glass windows. And I think of them like that. And I think of the borders like the frame of the stained glass window. So here is the High Priest. The Lovers, and I think this image is taken from a book from around 1900, so this is probably the most recent image in the whole major arcana, or in the whole set, in the whole deck. So the Lovers. And the book is not written in a condescending way at all. It's written in an informative way, which is good. I love this Chariot card because you can really see the fire under the chariot. I'm pretty sure this is taken from Ezekiel's chariot. Here is the chariot. Wheel of Fortune. Justice. These cards are a good size, so you can see the images quite well. The Death card. I love the way there's this line of skeletons instead of one. It's really interesting. And there are explanations for the images for each card. The Devil. I also think this is a really good deck for people who want to reconcile esoteric spirituality with Christianity. That is something that I'm interested in at the moment, so I think it's really good for that. Devil, beautiful star card. the moon. Love this card as well. And the sun. So this is a bit different, showing an angel with the light. Sun. Now for the very interesting suit cards. The first suit is the Ace of Alchemists. Well, this is the Alchemist suit. And this is the Ace of Alchemists. The aces are numbered 1. And these have a purple background. I see this suit as fire because there's quite a lot of fiery images in here. You can see the element of fire in this suit. So I see this one as fire. And I think of this more as elements rather than the usual wands, cups, swords or pentacles, because this is an alchemical deck as well as a Cabala deck, an alchemy deck. I am thinking of these suits more as the elements. So this deck is a really good combination of Christian Cabala, Alchemy and Rosicrucianism. Ace of Alchemists. I hope these cards are showing up properly. The Two of Alchemists. So this, if you look at the top of the card, there is a sun and a moon at the top of the card near the two heads of the figure, which is to do with the union of the male and female duality or polarity, but it's really to do with a duality. And some of these images are taken from quite well-known and famous alchemical drawings. Here is the Knight of Alchemists, and some of the court cards are numbered. So this is numbered 12 for the knight and 11 for the page. So this is the Knight of Alchemists, and this is Mercury, the god Mercury. The Knight of Alchemists. Now for the Mystics suit, which I see as water, the water element. The Ace of Mystics. There's symbols of hearts in here and water. That's why I think of this as a water and feeling suit. So, Ace of Mystics. So there is like a skeleton image on a heart in the Ace. Ace of Mystics. Four of Mystics. This has got water here too. And a kind of a crayfish or lobster figure on the water, on the sea here. So very unusual, interesting images. Four of Mystics, and these cards have a deep blue background. Four of Mystics. And the Queen of Mystics. I think this is a really fascinating Queen of Mystics. There is a woman here looking up at a female queen figure above. So I really like that. Queen of Mystics. And the queens and kings are not numbered, just the pages and knights. Now for the mages, as in magician's suit, and I see this one as air. These have a golden yellow colouring. Ace of Mages, it's showing hand, that's a hand diagram to do with palmistry. So Ace of Mages. The Three of Mages, which represents a very quite well known drawing of Hermes, thrice greatest Hermes. So that's probably why that's Three of Mages. The Five of Mages, and I particularly wanted to show this because it actually says Cabala here and spelt with a C, which is how Christian Cabala is normally spelt. So I wanted to show that. Five of Mages. And you can probably tell by now that these cards have a system of their own. They are scenic pips, but they don't show very much alignment with the weight system of tarot. Five of Mages. And the Page of Mages, which is Mercury again. Because Mercury is a very important god in connection with alchemy. So, Page of Mages, and you can see the astrology symbols above. Page of Mages, and that's numbered 11. And the last suit is Shekinah, and I see this as the earth element. Here is the Ace of Shekinah, and this is a representation of the Tree of Life and Kabbalah. Each of the Sephirah, each of the 10 Sephirah of the Kabbalah are written on the sides of the diagram. Ace of Shekinah, and the Shekinah is associated with Kabbalah. Ace of Shekinah, Five of Shekinah, and I think there's two demons here alongside the person in the middle standing with the Tree of Life or Tree of Knowledge and is being tempted. So I kind of see that tying in with the Five of Pentacles in a way, because it's to do with looking for more and feeling kind of suffering in a way in regard to materialism. So 5 of Shekinah. These have a red background and I don't know why, but that's, I see this as the earth element. And Queen of Shekinah, which I think fits in really well with the incarnation of Jesus. So it's really showing Mary and Jesus here. And incarnation, of course, has to do with the physical body, which is to do with the earth element. So Queen of Shekinah. So there's some of the cards of the Alchemystic Woodcut Tarot by D.W.Prudence. I'll put the details below the video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.